Hey, welcome to the Simple Man's Workshop. Today I'm going to show you how to cut preform laminate countertops. If done correctly, it can be a really easy process and you can make the cut without chipping any of the laminate out or anything. So let's get started. On the screen next are the tools that you're going to need to complete this project. Okay, I got my tape measure, I've got my pencil, tape, speed square, and a straight edge. We're going to cut this at 12 inches, so I'm going to mark it right here, and I'm going to mark it right here. And the purpose of those marks is to give us a reference point, because if you watch, you see this. I'm going to split the difference with the tape on that mark. I'm actually splitting the difference on that mark and coming down here splitting the difference on this. We're putting this blue tape on this side to protect the laminate top. We're not cutting from this side. We're going to cut from the back side, but this helps prevent chip outs on the top as the saw blade's going through. So now we're going to flip it over. See how I got that there? I'm going to go ahead and roll that over, and I'm going to roll that over. And we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to measure over, and you need to be as precise as possible with this. Measure over 12 inches. Measure over right there, and then I'm going to measure over right here. Now I've got my speed square for this purpose. This is really helpful right here. You can slap your speed square on here, line up right there. Now you get your straight edge right there. Now get your straight edge, line up on your line here, and then come down here, line up right there and right there. Then you'll run your pencil mark. Get you a good sharp pencil mark there. You're going to be using this to line up how you're going to cut. So you want to make sure you get you a good mark. You see there's a good pencil mark there. So now I'm going to get my saw, and I'll show you what we do next with the saw to make sure we set up our fence to make a good straight cut. I've got a couple of clamps. I've got a spring clamp, circular saw with a brand new 24 tooth blade. I suggest putting a new blade in when you're cutting laminate. It'll keep from having chip outs, give you a nice clean cut. I also have these 4 boards underneath, just lifting it up off of my work surface so it won't cut my work surface. Then I've got this. This is a straight edge to help be a rip fence when I go to cut. And there's 2 ways to do this. Some people will just cut it flush, and when they cut it flush, they just bump it straight into this right here and then clamp it, and it works great. What I usually do is I'll cut a 3/4 inch deep block by the depth of this right here. That way when I slide it in, it gives me more of a place to clamp to, and it allows that guide on that saw to act better as it goes down the rib fence. So next thing we do is we'll position this. We get the saw. The saw is unplugged. I'm fixing to pull back the guard, and the clamp here is so I can clamp the guard back and get it out of the way. Now I've set the depth of the saw blade to where it's barely on the plywood, and I do that on purpose because when we line this thing up, we're going to set it right on the pencil line. Now remember, that saw blade is about 1/8 inch wide, so make sure you get that saw blade on the side of the material that you're not needing. That way you're cutting your material the proper length. So right there it is. I'm going to take my clamp. I'm going to clamp this right here. I'm going to get it in place, bring it down, tighten this up right here. Now we're going to move it to this end. We're going to line up that saw blade with our pencil mark and bring that piece of wood over that's acting as a rib fence. Now that we've got that, we're going to move this in place, get our clamp in place. It's fighting me a little bit. Now we got it. We're going to tighten it down. Now once we get this thing tightened down, We will check it one more time real good, make sure everything lines up good. That's tight, that's tight. That lines up really well with my saw blade there. Let me pull it back. That lines up really well with my saw blade there. So the saw blade and the pencil marks are perfect. Okay, so what we do now is I've got a couple more clamps back here. And I'm going to put one right here. And I've got a lip on my workbench that's going to help me clamp this to my workbench. Make it a little bit more secure as we're cutting. So I'm going to tighten that down right there. And this one right here, I'm going to come on this outside edge. And I'm going to go down right there and tighten that one. So now I've got the top secured to the workbench, holding it in place. I've got the rip vents being held in place so we can cut down the pencil line. Okay, so what we do now is set the depth of the blade of the saw. So we'll cut through the countertop, but we won't cut through my workbench. So the way I do that, best way I've found, is set it on here, release your height, let it sit down on the workbench, and then lock it. Now, the blade is inside the guard, so we're not going to hit the workbench if we set it at that depth right there. All right, I got the saw plugged in. My glasses are OSHA certified safety glasses, and I've got hearing protection in. So make sure you practice good safety while using a saw. Okay, we have everything completed, ready to go. All we got to do is make the cut now. So I'm going to step up here. I'm going to put the saw against the rip fence right here. I'm going to pull the blade back so when I start pushing forward, it's not in my way. Okay, let's see how our cut turned out. Take that off. We're going to flip this thing over, and we're going to pull this blue tape off. And take a look at this. That is a beautiful, clean, straight cut. This cut turned out beautifully. There is not a single chip or nick or anything anywhere on this cut. So what's next on it, right? You got to put your end cap on. I just released a video, it's on my channel, on how to install an end cap kit on this. Coming soon will be a lot more videos like how to cut a sinkhole, how to install these tops onto your cabinets, and many more things. If you like what you see, subscribe, comment, give me a thumbs up, share with your friends. I appreciate you watching. Y'all have a great day.